Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Rebecca Louise of Rebecca Louise Knits, and today I'm going to be talking about my hand spun. Now if you follow me on Instagram you will know that I attempted to wash the hand spun that I'd already worked up on my spindle, which is a drop spindle. And basically I'm going to include a bit of footage of the process, how I chose to do it, the guidance that I got offline, and we'll get into that. But first of all, I'd just like to show you the sort of finished effect. And of course, like, I have managed to hank it, as you can see. So I did two different bats that basically I'd spun up a while ago, and they'd been waiting around sort of in the box storage sort of situation that I have for all my fibre. And yeah, so initially at the beginning of the year I set myself a challenge to do 100 days, 15 minutes. It was inspired by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits, because she also had done 100 days of spinning and she just really recommended it. It's really good to get a grasp on technique and learn what to do and what not to do, which was really great. But yeah, so I did that earlier in the year, and I obviously spun a lot because I have two hanks here and I already have something else on my spindle which we're going to talk about later. But yeah, so what I want to talk about in this video is the process itself. So I'd read online that the best way to do it is basically when you're just like with knitting, when you get to the end of a project and you block a garment or whatever it is that you've made or whatever it is that you've like knit or crocheted, to wet block. That was the thing that I saw online, and that meant obviously that they were going to need to dry somewhere, so I had to think about that, and it was a bit of planning, figure out how I could do it, because I don't really have the facility to do it here in my room. Obviously it needed to be outside. Luckily I have a garden, so I had sort of the room to do it. And yeah, so I did block it. I used my soak wool detergent that I use on all of my garments, and I timed it the exact time for 15 minutes, which is what it said to do online. And then I let it dry, and I let it dry for a good 24 hours, and it has come out really, really lovely. I was very, very happy with how it dried. I was worried that it would take a lot longer than I thought it would, but it turned out okay. And of course, here they are. And yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of what I'm happy with, what I'm not happy with, and sort of where I'm at in my learning stage. Now, during my 100 days when I was learning how to spin, one of the things I really wanted to master was consistency in the sort of gauge of the yarn that I was creating as I spun. And that's something I really, really struggled with, and I'm sure as a learner a lot of people can relate to it, and a lot of people who now spin and just sort of do it without thinking probably relate back to a time when it wasn't as sort of as getting as much as a consistency as they do now. And I can tell which of these hanks I spun into yarn first. So this is this one. And if you can see, my camera do its thing, some parts of the yarn are thicker and some parts are thinner. And that's what I mean about consistency. Now I knew obviously when I started spinning I wasn't going to immediately get like a fingering weight yarn when I was finished. I knew that because I'm learning how to do draw, long draw, and all these different things that go into spinning, and how you actually spin the yarn itself and how you do different things like that. So the difference that I have here though is when I show you the second hank, so we have this one where some of the consistency of the yarn is really quite thick, going into like a chunky size, when then some of it is actually coming out closer to a sport weight. And then here there is a dramatic change where I really persisted on trying to get it drawn out better, trying to get it thinner as much as I possibly could. And some of the strands have gotten to a much more thinner consistency, as you can see there. So that was something I'm really happy about, because I can actually visibly see the progress. And that's really fulfilling, because that's actually how I work. When you knit and you crochet and you're learning, you can visibly see a progress. You can see your tension getting tighter, you can see your stitches getting neater, all wonderful things like that. So what I really loved is, obviously I saw the change happening over time and I was getting better, and hopefully I'll continue to get better. But yeah, that's something I was really happy with, is that you can clearly see my progress, which is great. Something else I was happy with is I actually enjoy it, which is brilliant, because if you're not going to enjoy it, what's the point? Yeah, so I really like doing it. It's a lot of fun. I have grasped how to use a drop spindle now, which feels really good. I can just sort of do it when I want to. And yeah, it's really, really lovely, and I definitely want to keep doing it, which I think is really fulfilling. And that's really great, because when you put effort into something, you want it to, well, I don't think it necessarily has to be rewarding, but it's good when it is. So yeah. Okay, so something I'm not very happy about is I've coiled so much of it, and I need to figure out how to stop doing that. If anyone wants to offer any tips in the comments, I will absolutely very, very gladly take them. How to stop coiling the spun fibre once it's kind of got the spin in it. And I think a case of this is that basically, I think what I'm doing is I'm rushing, because I have seen it happening when I've got the drop spindle, and I can see it coiling, and then of course I pull a little further along and it starts to come out. And the idea is that the spin's just too tight. I think that's it. And so that's something else that I need to work on, is just sort of being a little bit more patient with the actual spinning process itself, and making sure that the fibre goes onto the spindle sort of completely, just without that coil, just the basic spin, not so tightly spun that it starts to coil and you get this sort of beading effect when you run your fingers along it, which I don't like. It is worrying that if I ever came to work with it, what it would sort of come out like as a texture and in like the weave that you'd get. Now I've got no problem with a rustic yarn, and I've got no problem with like a fashiony look on a fabric. I love that. Texture's absolutely lovely. And I have used thick and thin yarns before, so I know that it can massively alter the gauge, and it can look sort of bulkier and thinner in different areas of the fabric once it's worked up. But I will do something with it. I don't have any plans right now, but hopefully will do something with both of them, because they're both absolutely gorgeous blends, and I don't sort of want it to go to waste. You know, I've got the practice pieces that I've sort of messed about with some fibre that was just completely undyed and didn't really like matter because it was just practice. But these I bought specifically because I loved their colours and their blends. Like for instance, this is a Merino and a Shetland and a Camel blend, and it's just this really gorgeous brown, gold and beige colours. And then this was a real personal favourite. This was Merino and Alpacha from Jeanette and Bluebell, and it's very, very interesting because it's sort of like this off-white grey that has these sort of purple strands running through it, and my camera just is not doing it any justice, I'm afraid. So this one's from Jeanette and Bluebell, and sorry, this one with the camel in is by Velvet Sixpence, both of which I bought at yarn shows. I buy all of my fibre at yarn shows. You'll know from previous videos and acquisitions, like when I get fibre it's usually all from a show, because I sort of like to see it up close. Not that I'm totally against buying online. Eventually I probably will, you know, when I've got the space. And when I'm after a certain and very specific blend, I will absolutely buy online. But just the way that it's happened over time and learning how to spin, it was very much about asking advice of people on stalls and sort of like, oh, what would you recommend for a beginner? And then of course getting to see the fibre up close is just always a lovely experience, and getting to touch it and feel what it's like, which is a little bit more important for spinning, I'd say, because you actively have to manipulate the fibre yourself, you know, with spinning it, with prepping it, and then the actual spin, that's all done on your hands. And so I do think I'm more drawn to the yarns that are softer when I'm buying fibre. And so yeah, that's something to take into account really, I think, for my own practice, is that I do sort of get pulled more towards the softer ones, like a Merino or an Alpacha blend, and so unbelievably light actually spinning with Alpacha, which was sort of heaven on earth really. It was really, really nice on the hands and just the overall experience. So I definitely will be looking for more Alpacha fibre going forward, and of course the Merinos. But if anyone out there has a recommended fibre that they think sounds like that it has those qualities that I'm looking for, let's say, so like softness, light, sort of feels nice at a touch, like stuff like that. If you have any fibre that you'd like to recommend to me, or any like sort of breeds or animals that are different, then please comment below, because like I love learning, so I'm learning so much already, but any more information that I can sort of absorb is totally appreciated. So just comment below if you have any ideas. Okay, next I wanted to talk about sort of the really early stages of spinning. So I talked about consistency, and something here, as you can really see, is it's like thin and big again, thin and big again, and that's what I sort of go back and forth about. So yeah, then you get this one which is like really, really thin, but then really, really bulky in certain areas. It's the draw. I need to learn how to do the draw better. I know. It's all practice and I'm absolutely loving it. I haven't spun in quite a few days, so I'm hoping to get a bit more time in during the week when I am spinning, because like I said, I absolutely love it, and it's really, really lovely learning about all these different things and how different fibres spin up. So I did say that I'd share what's on my spindle at the minute. So this is my absolutely gorgeous hand-painted spindle. I got this online from La Bien-Aimé's shop and her business in Paris. And yes, what I've got on here is actually, it's a dyed merino, I think it might be a blended top, and it's these gorgeous sort of unicorn fun colours. It's actually, I think it might actually be called unicorn, and it's gorgeous. It's got pink, blues, purples, yellows, and like a lovely like turquoisey colour. And yes, only a little bit. Like I said, I haven't done it in a while, so hoping to get back to this. And yeah, I think that's it. Learning a lot, still planning to spin, and still planning to wash it when it's done. Hopefully going to get better consistency the more that I do, which I'm absolutely fine with. I am saving some of my fibre for when I've really got it down, just because I would love to get to a point where I'm making real quantities of it, you know, sort of shawl to sweater quantities would be brilliant, because I love a shawl. I think it would be absolutely magical to knit a shawl from my own hand spun. That'd be amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going, keep learning, learn along with me. It's always fun to do it with other people. But yeah, I'm gonna keep spinning. And I'd love to know that if you spin, or if you're learning to spin, or if you've spun for 50 years, I want to know. Because I think there's just always more to know, if that makes sense. I think there's always more to learn. And yeah, let me know if you also have a similar issue with the consistency, and that like learning how to get it just more consistent throughout, I think is my problem. You know, it's not like I need it to be a really thin sport to fingering weight. It's just that I'd like it to be one weight as a majority all the way through. Yes. So lots more to do. yes, please comment below if you've liked anything that I've talked about or you'd like to offer any advice. As I said, it would be very appreciated, very welcome. Like this video if you enjoyed it. If you're not already following me, please give me a follow if you like my content, and hit the little bell if you want to know when I post next. I'm Rebecca Louise of Rebecca Louise Knits, and today I've been talking about my hand spun yarn. Thanks everyone, see you next time.